Guy. I'm the design director at Insomniac Games, and this is the design team, the RC Deadlocked design team, or I should say Ratchet Deadlocked. And this is where it all starts. This is the genesis, where we come up with the maps, the characters, the descriptions, and we collaborate with the whole company in determining what we want to do for Ratchet Deadlocked. So we've got Troy Dunaway here, who's our lead designer, and right now we're just wrapping things up. We're working on our gold disc, so he's tweaking all the various VO and audio and making sure that what we're instructing the player is all correct. I don't want to give him the wrong message. We have James Bassino over here, and he's playing Shell Shock, who's the first major boss in the game, and James is doing various tweaks to make sure the boss is fun, and everything's working.
So as the lead designer on this project, I'm primarily responsible for kind of keeping it all together. I'm the one that's helping manage the team, I'm the one that's helping manage all of the levels, making sure they're fun, continually playing through the game, making sure that everything's going to hit our high quality marks, and making sure that everything's kind of going smoothly and coordinating between all the different departments, which is a big task when we have a lot of different art and programming and other dependencies that keep the designers from being able to do their jobs day to day. So my job is to make sure that we have what we need to do to get the job done. This project, the schedules here at Insomniac are very short, and they're very condensed compared to many other teams and many other projects. And so our schedules are a little bit different in the sense that we start with a very high concept. We decide what we want to do very quickly, and then we just start building the game. We're using kind of the same tools and the same technology that we have for our previous games, which allows us to move very quickly into production on levels. And then with that, we just start slowly massaging and slowly figuring out like what our enemies are, what's going to be fun, what's going to be those unique things that really set this game apart, and we kind of figure that out a little bit as we go versus spending a lot of time up front writing lots and lots and lots of documents and spending lots of time just thinking about things. And then from there we sort of move into just a bit more of a pure production. We design all the levels, we work on paper to figure out how the levels are going to be built, and then from there actually just start quickly building them in Maya, and we try to figure out how that's going to fit into our game and what's going to make those fun. Trying to prototype them as quickly as possible and actually just get them up and running. In the meantime, while that's happening, the artist will start building all the assets required to build these levels. As you'll see in the game, it's extremely art detailed. All of our levels are extremely detailed and very unique, and there's not a whole lot of sharing between each level. So it requires us to kind of spend a lot more time building a lot of the artwork than in other games.
Let's see, what next? Here we have Jeff. He's worked on Phoenix. He's a tools programmer, and he helps develop the tools we use to put the game together. Without the tools, we can't make the game. So as we move over into this section, we have the gameplay programmers. Hey guys. So how they always greet me. We have Keith Lee. He's our lead gameplay programmer on Ratchet Deadlocked. And they're working hard to finish things up. We've got Stephen Lim, or Slim, who's developed all the weapons. And then we've got Paul Blake, who's programmed all the various vehicles. Hey Carl, how's life? Excellent.
What I do is generally manage our team, which consists of maybe about 10 single-player programmers. And so what we do is we implement everything from the gameplay of the game, all the monsters on each of the levels, all the weapons, all the visual effects for the game, as well as polishing the game and adding a lot of the little flares and polish that make Ratchet so special. So we make a lot of the really cool napalm effects for all the different weapons. We actually implement all the behaviors of how the enemies move and react and fight.
Most of it is designed from designers. Say we're gonna have a rocket launcher in this game, we're gonna have a machine gun in this game. Some of the weapons I just dreamt up. Like we knew we were gonna have a really big gun, the BFG, I guess that some games call it. I dreamed up like how it would work, and I worked with people, talking to people, bounced ideas off them. And that's pretty much it's give and take. It's not all on designers, it's not all on the programmer, it's not all on any one person. It's pretty collaborative, and it goes from that idea to me making a prototype of the weapon, which, as it turns out, for a weapons programmer, it seems like I pretty much have to make the whole weapon before I can actually show it to anybody, because that first impression is critical. If that weapon, if it's half-baked when I show it off, it totally changes the impression of the weapon, and I have to overcome a lot just to resell the weapon.
For Ratchet Deadlocked, I did the vehicle code and the majority of the special effects. And once they have the design, they collaborate with the programmers to ensure that it is feasible and make sure that it'll work within the engine that we have. We have an equal share of crushing dreams. They crush our dreams, we crush their dreams. But usually we work together to get a good solution that we both are really happy with.
Here's our Ratchet statue, Ratchet and Clank from Up Your Arsenal. This is our kind of our little altar. We'll put candles around it and say little prayers when we start each game. This is the fishbowl over here, and this is kind of the receptionist area. A nice view of beautiful Burbank, California. So let's meet Brian Burnell, shall we? Hey Brian, how you doing?
What's up?
Brian is our localization coordinator. He makes sure that all of the various text and information gets entered into the localization database and gets translated, and everything's coordinated. How many messages and various text descriptions would you say are in the game?
Thousands.
Thousands.
Yeah. 6 different languages,
Yeah.
distributed all throughout the world. There's just a massive amount of text that goes into these games.
Would you say there's probably around over 3,000 various messages just for each language?
Minimum. Minimum.
Wow. So it's like over 18,000 different descriptions. Pretty big.
A lot of text.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Brian. All right. Our animation crew is over here. That sounded like a Simpson character. The animation crew is over here. So this is where they create all of the wonderful characters and make all the motions and cinematics and movies and all that stuff. So as you can see, everyone's working diligently. Okay, let's see, round up some more animators. So this is another part of our animation department. Hey guys, this is a walkthrough for the Prima strategy guide. And so they have a mirror over here where they can do various act things out and get various poses down. So, firing a gun.
Typical day, I'm given animations to do or move sets for a particular character, and then from idles to attacks to damage animations and whatnot. So on a given day, mostly I'll do those, and then work with programmers to help them get implemented and look really good in the engine and in the game. So the style that we animate and the kind of game that Ratchet is kind of lends itself where it's a little bit more forgiving in that you can actually scale certain parts of the arms, little industry secret here or not, or you can really exaggerate certain appendages and literally stretch them or break them, we call it, breaking the arm and whatnot. And so because the animation style as well as the style of game and character that we're making, it actually lends itself to it, so it's a little bit more forgiving.
All right. Here's our QA departments, and they are testing the single-player side of the game. We've got single-player, multiplayer, and they're finding bugs, writing them up, and making sure they get fixed. This is their wall of defense right here. Kim is a lead QA guy, and he makes sure that all the discs get burned and everything's in order, and creates test plans and all that fun stuff. Yeah. Okay, and then I don't know if you should film over here because there's some licensed characters here. Top secret stuff.
Oh yeah, I thought you asked that.
Okay. You're gonna edit that part out, right? Here's our multiplayer QA side. Hey guys, how's it going? I take care of the test team and making sure that they're getting what they need in terms of new builds, and they're finding what they need to find. Just kind of a little direction, I guess, in the chaos that ensues in the development process. So we get on pretty early, actually. As soon as there's something playable, pretty much, even if it's just like a wasteland of just floating polygons or whatever. As long as there's something to test, we're on it. So this is the Ratchet Deadlocked environment team. They build all of the various worlds and levels, and create cities. And so we have Jacinda Chu over here, who's the lead environments artist. That's your new title. That's right. Over here is where they mix sounds. This is all of the sound equipments for making sure all the enemy deaths and gunshot sounds and laser beams and alien roars are all put together. And let's see if Paul Moodra is here. Hey Paul, how's it going?
Very good.
How'd you like to be on camera?
I'm responsible for all the audio that we put into our game, and that's everything to do with the dialogue that we record and the processing on that, sound effects for all of the creatures and objects in the game, ambient sounds. We don't actually do the music in-house, but I direct the composer in terms of the style, kind of do like music supervision on what to create, and cinematic mixes and everything. So pretty much everything that has an audio component I oversee and our team creates. We try and get in right at the beginning, especially for games that are going to be either brand new in terms of a first in a franchise that we're going to create, or when we're going to change gameplay radically. Ratchet Deadlocked was that type of a game where we wanted to do a lot of things that we had not done before in any previous Ratchet game. So early on we wanted to get involved with the process of what is design planning to do, what's the story going to, what's going to unfold with the story, and from the music we wanted to reflect all of the things that they were doing with the game, and that meant a very different music style because the game itself was changing quite a bit from previous Ratchet games. Typically, we try and see if we can get a model from the animators, or even just a sketch of the weapon in relation to how big it is and what the functionality of that weapon is. A good example might be the flail in this game that we have. So we wanted to make sure that it had a great ratchety chain sound when it was swinging out and then coming back in. And so we kind of sat down and looked at the animations, and we talked to the guys who were going to be programming it, and to the designers in terms of how it was going to function and all the special cases that were going to occur with that. And then we kind of pull elements. We know that we want it to have a huge boomy impact, and we know that we want it to be metallic on the chain when it retracts and expands out. And other sounds that we know we'll need with the weapons, such as an equip sound when you first pull it out. It then has this unfolding chink as it's unlocking and folding into place. And whenever you're out of ammo, it needs a sound for that too. So it's just basically looking at all the functionality of the weapon completely and hopefully seeing it in the game, and then we can just start to attach sounds to it.
I think we're almost done with our tour. We're going to go by the character department where they actually build the characters, and then we should be done. So I think the first day for any Insomniac is just figuring out this maze, all the various corridors. All right, so over here we've got the character team, and what they'll do is they will build the different characters. Hey guys, surprise! So Greg Baldwin's the lead RC Deadlocked character guy, and he makes sure that all the characters get built and textured and colored correctly and looking good. And then of course all these characters get skeletons and they can be animated and put into the game, brought to life.
In the character team, we design a lot of the characters. In fact, we design all the characters. We design the look and feel of how those characters are going to be in the environments. This game in particular has been really important for us to make sure that the colors read on each of the characters. We've had a very good relationship with the environment team to make sure that our characters stand out and are very clear when we want them to be or when they want to blend in, so they feel a little bit more camouflaged. It's really about how we want the gameplay to feel, and we're able to control that a lot with the color palettes. We had an enemy character that was called the Reaper, and he was kind of a lizardy creature. We knew he wanted to be an organic creature. He had spikes on his back, and he was kind of simian in quality, and basically lent himself to kind of a combination of sort of a crocodile slash ape slash let's say a porcupine. And when you put all those attributes together, it was a pretty clear picture for us what that character was going to look like. When the character team went at it, the design team seemed very happy with it, and the whole character came together really well. Yeah, we had a character that was going to be a snake beast, and for a long time, the snake was supposed to kind of rise up out of the water and kind of shoot you with some sort of laser beam or something like that. And then if you basically got it down to a certain level, it would jump out and chase you. And the situation we had was that it was going to have these very little tiny legs, and how to get a character to feel very ominous and scary, scurrying around on these little legs with a big long neck. And obviously that's not the most scary creature you've ever heard of. And what we ended up doing is switching the whole thing around. And after a lot of talks and a lot of debates and finding out exactly what we needed to accomplish with this character, we came up with a scorpion. So the tail is actually what's coming up out of the ground. And when that thing jumps out of the water, it's a very horrific looking scorpion chasing you down.
And I believe, I think this is it.
Ratchet Deadlocked is the fourth game in the incredibly popular Ratchet & Clank series, and a bold new direction for the franchise. Prima Games traveled to the Burbank, California offices of Insomniac Games to talk to the Insomniacs themselves about the latest and possibly greatest Ratchet game to date.
The company at the very beginning was really me in an office with a 3DO dev station trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. I thought I could start a game company, and unfortunately at the time I really didn't know anything about making games. I was just passionate about games. So very quickly I realized that I needed some help, and was lucky to run into a guy named Al Hastings. Al is currently our Chief Technology Officer, and at that point he had just graduated from Princeton University. And he came out to California he and I worked together on a demo for our first game, which was called Disruptor. Disruptor was a game that we ended up selling to Universal Interactive Studios. And when we sold the demo, the next person we called was Al's brother, Brian Hastings, who was our Chief Creative Officer.
Let's see what inspired the Ratchet Clank series. It was at a point where we had finished up with Spiral and we knew we needed to do something else. And we knew we wanted to keep kind of the humor and the sense of adventure from Spiral, and the sense of just having an incredible world of immense opportunities. And I think we're all just kind of batting around ideas and looking for, what's the next big thing? What can you do with the platformer to kind of keep it interesting and take it in a new direction?
I guess my favorite aspect of this game is that it's taken a different direction from the traditional Ratchet and Clanks, and it's more action-oriented.
In the beginning, it was kind of a risk when we're going in an action-oriented direction, and it's 100% action, 100% adrenaline. 5 times as many enemies you're fighting on any given planet. We knew that was kind of a risk, and we weren't sure how that was going to play out. Now that it's there, I absolutely love the action.
I just find that the visceral excitement of playing the game and just the way everything blows up. There's no one weapon necessarily does it any better. I mean, a lot of the mods, I especially really love the napalm mod. The napalm mod, when you use it on the grenade launchers, create these big molten pools of napalm that are really fun and exciting. But just in general, the way everything blows up is extremely exciting and just big and huge, and just really makes you feel like you're having a fun time all the time.
I enjoy all parts of Ratchet games, and it does sound cheesy for me to say that. In fact, I've always been a big fan of the weapons, and this time the weapons have gotten just huge in terms of the mod system and being able to completely customize your arsenal. The effects are heads and shoulders above what we've had before.
One aspect of our weapons that's really cool, but a lot of players may miss, is our whole concept of alpha mods.
We have a string of mods for the weapons called the alpha mods.
And the mods are a really deep element to it.
All the new mods are really fun.
Like the alpha mods.
Alpha mods.
Alpha mods, definitely.
You can equip your weapon with the freeze mod and painfully slow down your opponent so you can continue to pummel at him at your pleasure. Or you can equip the B6 Obliterator with the new napalm mod, which will blow up into big blobs of napalm, and the opponents will run through it and get all fried. It's a lot of fun.
We have so many different combinations of weapon customizations that you could play through the game maybe 10 times and still not get the different combinations of weapons that you might want to play with. You can change sort of your style of how to play. So one way I might be able to add napalm onto the mine gun, and I could just run around with that and blowing everyone up. The next time around, I could just get my wrench, which I can upgrade, which becomes a flaming wrench, and I can just napalm and flame everyone else near me, or I could freeze them. So I think every time that you play through, there's just a lot of neat bonuses and skill points that you can get that people may not be able to see the first time through.
You've got Omega mods, you've got Alpha mods, and the Omega ones are functional ones, which are like you can put acid on a weapon and you can cause damage over time. You can put napalm on explosive weapons that'll spread lava all over the ground and damage enemies. You can put shock on one, which will do electric arcs from any enemy you hit. You spread these electric arcs all over the playfield. So I think most players hopefully will get that part. But there are also the alpha mods, which are things like speed increases and ammo increases and knockback increases and several other things you can do. And you can reconfigure this. And if you really get into that, it's pretty cool because you can put all impact and knockback mods onto like a shotgun and just blast guys all the way across the level.
You can give your weapons more ammo. You can make them. You can increase their tracking. You can make their explosions bigger. And the thing, these mods get automatically placed on other weapons as the game levels. But the cool thing is you can swap them out if you want.
It's a little hard for some players to kind of get into and use, but once they do it, they can really discover the fact that when they have a level 10 weapon and it's going to have 10 different alpha mods, and you can start getting all these different combinations of speed or power or ammo or various things with those weapons. And you use your machine guns a whole heck of a lot, so you go hey, I want to try to put 10 ammo mods on this weapon and see what happens. And all of a sudden you see the amount of ammo you have triple in the game. There's lots of little things like that we're finding players still through our focus tests and another play right now don't utilize nearly as much. And I think once players really discover that, they're really going to have a great time.
It's surprising the amount of detail that goes into a game that's never advertised, documented, published, and we kind of like that because the more it's really rewarding for the players that the more they play the game, the more they'll find these subtleties that we added in that we never talked about. That and suddenly you'll see people post about it on the forums. And you'll see them talk about it, and they're like, oh yeah, like if you actually double jump on the mine launcher, you can lob the mines really far, and it's not just about lobbing the mine in front of you. And, all these things little details that we put in that I think really change the gameplay, but it allows the game to change over time.
I think there's a lot of little behaviors in the enemies that I really like. For example, we have this enemy called the saucer swarmer, and basically when it dies, instead of a standard explosion or something, it sputters out of control and goes flying off into space. And I like all those little touches that we end up putting in towards the end of the game.
Probably my favorite vehicle in Deadlocked would have to be the Landstalker, which is something we did early in the prototype phases to see if we could actually pull it off, where it's a four-legged walking tank that is fully program animated. And so it interacts very realistically with a lot of the environment and can go pretty much anywhere, much to the chagrin of the environment artists that are trying to keep it into the gameplay area. We usually have animators that create animations in Maya for animating all the characters. The Landstalker is the first character, which is both player-controlled and an enemy vehicle, that is fully programmed, fully animated with programming.
Oh, okay.
All the animation of the legs and the movement around the world is all done through programming.
I think the most enjoyable aspect of the game for me right now is co-op, because I can play with a friend and go through the entire game with that friend by my side, helping me take out all the enemies and experiencing the adventure together, which is really cool.
I love the co-op components of this game. It's really a lot of fun. I love having your bots interact with you if you're playing it solo, but you've got your homies that are walking around with you, and they can you can control their actions, and it really feels like you've got a couple of players moving along with you to try and get through the puzzles and get to the goal. I think that's really cool, because I always wanted to play this with somebody else. I really like the puzzle aspects of the Ratchet games, and when I was playing multiplayer before, it felt like, I just wish there was some more puzzly type of elements to it. And that's what the solo play of this game is doing. It's very different from any of the other games. You're doing all the puzzle elements, but you've got reinforcements that are doing it too.
I haven't even mentioned co-op. You're asking about one of the funnest things you can do in the game, and co-op's the biggest thing. I mean, when I play, I most often play single players because that's kind of what we're testing. But if you got a buddy with you and you're playing co-op, it's like the greatest thing. It takes it to a whole new level.
I think everybody here wanted to do something different with Ratchet. If you do 3 games in a row, you absolutely want to change things up the 4th time. In fact, we did that for the 3rd time and the 2nd time as well. So our mantra has always been provide something fresh and different for the consumer with every game we make, whether it's a sequel or an original title.